Hi there. My name is Andy Wagner, and I'm an executive director at AAXIS Digital. And I want to thank you for checking out our B2B Migration Playbook today. Our playbook aggregates 15 years of implementing and migrating Oracle Commerce and presents the 7 key capability areas that we believe B2B companies should focus on when considering future options for their Oracle Commerce solution. Now, you're likely aware of the discussions and open questions in the industry surrounding Oracle's future plans for their e-commerce platforms. And we're certainly hearing it amongst our own clients. So today, I'm joined by our CTO, Naresh Ram, to help me address these discussions by walking through those key capability areas and sharing some real-world examples to illustrate why they're so important. Hey, Naresh, thanks for joining me today.
Hi, Andy. How are you doing?
Doing well, thanks. So listen, let's start with some context. The world has changed since most companies implemented Oracle Commerce. This idea of digital business is far more pervasive and impacts almost everything today in a way it didn't back when they first implemented. So ultimately, we feel there's going to come a point when companies decide to migrate off of Oracle Commerce. So Naresh, I want to just start with to get your thoughts on what are the most important factors you're seeing influencing that decision?
The important factors influencing the migration to migration away from Oracle Commerce would be primarily the cost of maintenance. I mean, the resource pool is becoming smaller. The cost of hardware is becoming higher. There is a cost to this maintaining this old system. The second one, the more important one, would be the feature requirement. If your business is evolving and you have acquisitions, mergers, new product catalogs, all of these, sometimes it's just way too much money to update your system with new features. So in some cases, what we have found with our customers is that adding a new product catalog with a little bit of variation was even more expensive than just replatforming. So they just decided to replatform and go with a new platform.
So in addition to those things you were just mentioning, what kind of pressures are you seeing for people to migrate? What are you hearing about?
So the previously I covered what are the important factors for the migration. I think some of the businesses are also facing a pressure to migrate away from their ATG installation. The first one is the benefit and the availability of the ubiquitous availability of cloud. Some of the companies have tried to migrate to cloud with ATG, the licensing, the support. I can go on forever on that. So, but it's not an option. I mean, going with a newer platform that is born in the cloud would obviously be much better. Also, you need to react much faster to customer needs. I mean, you can't wait for a week to get a build done when you have a big flood like we had in Florida. You just need to adapt to it very quickly, like in hours or minutes, for example. And we can do that with some of the newer platforms, right? Absolutely. And the next one that I would say is a big one is trust. Trust is very important for B2B, even more important than B2C. I would think B2C is important too, but it is the new Heartbleed defect that we had, the Log4j vulnerability we had, the maintaining and patching those systems quickly and not exposing and having an answer when a customer calls you and says, "Are you guys addressed for this one?" is, I think, very, very key for some of the B2B platforms. So also some of the newer platforms, in addition to patches, they also do feature changes very, very quickly. You get feature upgrades every 6 months, every 3 months. The new features are added that will kind of help you stay up with the customer demand.
Fantastic. So if I summarize all of that, I'm hearing 2 things really. One is there's an obvious focus on feature parity and getting new features and being able to get new features to the market quickly is a pressure. It's a big reason that people are considering migrating. But then there's also, I've heard and people that I've talked to, there's this concern that, hey, we've been on this platform for years and years and years. We've customized it. We have complexities in our business. And we're just concerned that some of today's digital commerce platforms just may struggle with some of those complex B2B scenarios. Would you agree that that's right? You're hearing that as well?
Well, depending on who you're listening to, you could have heard that, I'm sure. But I think different platforms come with different flavors in the market, Andy. And as you know, you have platforms that are pretty light on features, but they give you a lot of flexibility to implement your own and do what you need to do. And there's some features. There are some platforms that take a very prescriptive approach to features. They give you a lot of features and give you the ability to customize them, as you see fit. So I think it goes both ways. So depending on your platform, you could end up with a bunch of customization, not able to do something, and end up with a bunch of customization, or have most of it done requiring a little bit of customization to go where you need to go, depending on your need and the platform.
Okay, so let me put you on the spot then. I know my answer to this, but as we go through the playbook now and walk through these seven key capability areas, is there one platform that stands out in your mind for its kind of comprehensive B2B support that we could use as an example as we're going through these?
Well, I guess you know my answer, and I certainly do know yours. We've been working with Oracle Commerce. They have a really very feature-rich platform that compares very well with ATG. We've done some excellent migrations out of ATG with Oracle Commerce, with feature parity and more and much more. In fact, what we couldn't do with ATG, or it was too expensive to customize, was out of the box with Oracle Commerce. So I strongly recommend that. When it comes to somebody who's in B2B, that is like doing things industry standard wise, or a little bit of deviation from that.
Okay, so that was going to be my answer as well. It's one of the most feature-rich platforms that I've come across out there, and we've had some really good luck with it. So let's start looking at these key capability areas. So I remember back when I started working with ATG before it was Oracle Commerce, one of the big selling points and one of the things that Oracle Commerce allowed you to do was really start working with personalization and be able to personalize the customer experience. If we think about that as an important capability area, how does that stack up, say now with Oracle Commerce? What are you seeing?
So Andy, as you very well know, in ATG, when we sold it, it was a lot of emphasis was placed on personalization, but that was during sales. We placed a lot of emphasis on personalization. Really, when it got to implementation, most people only implemented a few banners that were, even though we had these segments and slots and stuff, and we did some work on it, but hardly. I don't think anybody ever used it properly. But I mean, there are some companies that did that anyway. In terms of B2B specifically, ATG was primarily a B2C platform, right? When it comes to B2B, I think personalization can be done even more precisely, because you know your customer, you know exactly the market segment they belong to, and you know who's logging on to it. No matter where the order comes from, which person, you know that this company buys like this because you have their order history. So I think putting up industry specific banners, changing, that's just a gimme. It's very straightforward. It's a merchandiser config. We don't even get development on that. You can change top nav very, very easily. Not only can we change it based on industry specification, like my catalog, we've done that for our customer, my catalog, where they just see the stuff that they usually order. They do have access to full catalog, but my catalog is their personal stuff. We also do quick links on the page to go to take them to where they're doing. If they're doing truck tracking and they come there often to do truck tracking, we have a quick link for them to go there. We also make accessible the MSDS and the spec sheets from the orders they purchased, because we know which products they purchased, independent of who's logging in. And because we have a role-based access control, when a warehouse person logs in, we can give them a completely different personalized view, as opposed to somebody who's from purchasing or from financing who's logging in. And I think the last one is search. And we've done a customization where when the user logs in and searches for something based on their industry specification, we bump those categories. So if you're plumbing, we bump the plumbing results up, as opposed to something from electrical. Like if you search for a pipe, you get plumbing pipes as opposed to electrical pipes. And again, this is all merchandiser config, right? So the rules for personalization have been for search personalization can be configured by the merchandiser.
Okay, so it's interesting with the search that most people have both ATG and Endeca. It's now obviously part of Oracle Commerce. Excuse me. it sounds to me like this is going to be easier to manage. It's not as heavy. I mean, I know people who, they have teams dedicated to just managing all the business rules and what have you in Endeca. So, from a personalization perspective, you just talked about that, but what about just the raw search?
So in Oracle Commerce, raw search is done using Elasticsearch. Elasticsearch is an open source, industry standard, REST-based search engine that is very, very good with just searches. Now, Endeca used to do UI management, the look and feel. I never thought that really belonged there. We do look and feel management where it belongs, in the CMS part of the website, in the admin section. The search itself is search, and it's highly customizable, as I just said. We can do query intercepts and change the queries to get that. We can customize how the indexing happens. In fact, Oracle, the Endeca search, for example, indexes visibility for each customer. What that means is that when it's not just hiding a product for a customer, when you search for it, you don't even get that. That's a deep visibility. You have no access to it. Even you can go direct link to it, you don't have access to it. So, and then we do pricing as well. All the customers' pricings are different. I mean, we support complex pricing. All the customer pricings are indexed, and when we do product listing pages, the efficiency, the performance is great coming out of Endeca.
So you're making this really easy for me, Res, because I was just going to ask you about pricing, because I know in Oracle Commerce, we had hierarchical pricing, we had tier pricing models, and there was a lot of complexity you could manage there. This is clearly an important capability area for any B2B company. If we go back to our example of Oracle Commerce, how are they making that at least the same or better?
As you know, Andy, not only is list price and then fall down pricing, like you have multiple list pricing per customer specific pricing, MSRP, and even map pricing that many of the retailers now have to support, are all out of the box with Oro. In addition, Oro also supports expressions for generating price lists. So if you have a single sale price list and you wanted to give a 10% discount to your gold customers or your silver customers, you could have that generated just with an expression. So you don't have to update all the pricing. Oracle Commerce will do that for you. And if it doesn't work, you can always customize the pricing engine just like you would do in ATG. So we can handle pretty much anything. In fact, recently, as you know, we handled 25 million records for one of our customers. And we got super performance, less than 1 second on the glass performance on it, and we had to load these pricing every day. 25 million prices loaded every day, and we got all that with customizing the pricing engine.
Okay, that's pretty amazing. And if we think about the other part of the other capability that kind of always goes alongside pricing, which is product management, that's one I know that we've sometimes struggled with in Oracle Commerce. It's not always been very friendly, and we've had to do some crazy things to make it work the way we wanted. It isn't always easy in B2B because of the multiple variations and mappings of products to companies, to this, that. Does it fundamentally work the same way if we're thinking about Oracle Commerce, or how have they done things differently?
So the short answer is no, it works much better. So in Oro Commerce, you can create your own variations. Merchandiser like a business analyst can create their own variations of products. We do have a concept of a product template where we can set up the product and the product types and what attributes they have, and then you can fill that up kind of like a CMS. So it's a decent CMS, I would say. We do have some bulk edit capability. You can upload your product images in ATG. We used to always send images through an FTP system, but in Oro you can upload your images, and you can set up your attributes. You can set up your different variations. The whole complex configurable product stuff just works out of the box. You also get pricing based on the complex products. You get variations. All very similar in functionality, but much better execution because it's mostly controlled by the merchandiser. And if it doesn't work, we do have direct integration with really good PIM systems like the popular ones in the industry.
Okay, so it sounds like it is a lot easier to work with product management in Oracle Commerce, and that's important because this is an area where more and more you want to get your merchandisers, your business people involved in that, in the B2B world. But as you know, the e-commerce platform isn't always the master of that information, whether it's product price, whatever it might be. So, within Oracle Commerce, there was always a heavy integration piece of any implementation. That's not going to go away because you need to integrate with all the other systems that you have. But is there anything that Oracle Commerce has done, or any of these modern platforms have done, to make that integration work easier or less risky?
So I think in terms of integration, Oracle Commerce supports the concept of a deployment unit, which is you have code, UI, and database changes, all including the database data that you need, all rolled into one unit, which makes it super easy for that feature to have its own life cycle. Also, when we work very closely with the Oro support team, we work very closely with the Oro product team, and when we ask for some stuff that's not in the marketplace, they do have a marketplace with common integration for CRP, ERM, and payment methods. But when they don't, we work with the Oracle product team, and they give us these deployment units that can be deployed just straight out into the application, and it's quite seamless. And we can also create our own using this model with any new REST or GraphQL based systems, as well as we have done some older integrations using file systems, FTP, SOAP, and even in email. We did an integration with email as well.
Okay, so if I hear what you're saying, this is actually quite interesting. So when we can create features that are all packaged together so that it functions as one unit, takes care of everything in the platform, from a database, the UI, the code, the execution, all of that. So that can almost live as its own feature alongside the platform, which I would suspect is going to make upgrading and keeping the platform patched and updated much easier.
Right. That's absolutely true. So we do get patches, very often. As soon as any vulnerability is detected, we do get minor releases every 3 to 6 months, and so upgrading it is fairly straightforward. It's a patch release, we upgrade it, and like you said, since all the features and our code is deployed in a unit that lives on its own, upgrading is much less of a risky task than what it used to be with ATG.
Okay, that sounds really useful. The next sort of capability I'd like to talk about or get your input on is, we see that particularly in B2B commerce, that organizations are starting to bring together various players, and in a similar way that we've seen in the B2C world. And by that I mean, obviously you have your e-commerce team, but now even the direct sales team, marketing, customer service, they're starting to all bring that together. So we're going through some of the same evolution that we've seen on B2C. No surprise there, I don't think, for anybody. But what I wanted to ask you about is, how easy is it to get all of that to work together? Okay. In other words, I know in Oracle Commerce, we had the customer service module, and you had talked about the CMS a little bit, but I'm wondering about things like CRM and anything else. Looking again at a more modern B2B platform, and perhaps using Oracle Commerce as the example.
So in Oro Commerce, Andy, we don't have this concept of separate BCC, separate CSC. We don't have that. We just have one admin, and based on the person who's logging in, based on the roles that you set on the person that's logging in, the same UI changes. So you could have a role that is both a merchandiser, a marketer, and a sales rep, or just one of them. So if you set the role to be just marketing, they get just the marketing part, which is the landing pages, the CMS, adjusting the look and feel of the site, and some of the search tuning is what they get. And when you get the merchandising part, that's when you get the PIM, like product management and changing everything. So it's interesting that the marketing person can kind of control the UI, the top level nav, how it looks, and the merchandising person can do his own work, and they can be separate or together. So and when you license Oracle Commerce, you get all of this in you get the marketing part where you can send out blasts of email, and you get all that. You get the lightweight PIM, which is actually pretty full featured. You get a complete CRM, which gives you a 360-degree view of the customer, including the orders he placed, the call center stuff where you can see the logs of the customer, what they had talked, what tickets they raised, and everything. You have a ticketing system. If you don't like the ticketing system, it's full featured, but if you don't like it, you can always integrate with Zendesk, and there's a out of the box integration as well. So all of it just comes together.
And we also know that not too long ago, Oro even extended the platform further to be able to handle marketplace scenarios.
That's right.
So if we put all this together, you have your commerce core, you've got your CRM, you can manage your customer service jobs there, and now we have marketplace as well as all the core commerce stuff, and it's all in the same platform. So it's not these different modules like we had with Oracle Commerce.
And the marketplace add-on isn't like a bolt-on that you would see with something else where it's a completely different UI. The marketplace is actually part of the admin screen. When the marketplace users log in, they see the admin screen that they have permission to. They control their products visibility. They control their product descriptions, the pricing, whatever it is that we as marketplace operators decide that they should have access to. And it all comes together.
Fantastic. So from a capability perspective, thinking about how am I going to get these various disciplines all sort of aligned around our digital commerce channel, Oracle Commerce provides a pretty easy solution in that they have features that support those functions that everybody needs to do from the various disciplines. So that sounds great. Now, the last, I think, and probably the biggest one in terms of capabilities is the kind of customer account hierarchy, or customer accounts in general. It hasn't always been easy to model, the B2B account hierarchy in Oracle Commerce. So is that another area where things have gotten better? With Oracle Commerce or any of the other more modern platforms?
Certainly. I think they've gotten a lot better, because when you look at a B2B platform, once you make the underlying assumption that all the entities that you normally associate with a user actually belong to a company, right? And then there are actors that act on behalf of the company. So people come and go, Andy. So you could have a purchasing person today, and you can have another purchasing person tomorrow. You don't want to share logins. That's just ridiculous, right? And then you don't want them not to have access to orders. So in Oracle Commerce, when you place an order, it belongs to the company, and when you replace that person, the next person has access to that orders. Now, between companies, there's a firewall, and they can't see each other's orders, obviously. But within the company, you can set up to say a supervisor can see all the orders. And then you can set up things like purchase approval workflows, because everybody has their own different roles. You can have RFQs, so you can have request for quotations going back and forth with the right person. You can out of the box is also user management, that is end user management. So I, as a customer to a platform that's built by Oracle Commerce, if I'm an admin, I can manage my own people. I can add them, delete them, change their passwords. I can even set my own custom roles on them to say this person only has access for up to $500 to place an order. After that, it requires an approval. So I can manage that as an admin for my own company, not as an admin for the operator, but as an admin. That reduces cost to the operator, because now you're giving the power to the customers to do their own thing. Also improves security, because we all know people quit and nobody it turns their access off because it's all these third-party systems that you have to send a ticket to and everything, right? So that's all taken care of.
Right. So it sounds like it really enables this self-service scenario
Right.
a lot easier, which certainly wasn't quite as easy in the Oracle Commerce world, but is one of those areas in around the customer account capability that you really want today to actually be as flexible as possible to engage with your customers and let them work the way they want to work,
right?
Without it being this major overhead for you as the operator. Okay, well that's considerably more flexible than how we had to do things in Oracle Commerce for sure. Now, just before I forget, you'll notice there's a link below where you can book time with Naresh to discuss any specific questions you might have regarding your individual scenarios. We're kind of being pretty broad here with Naresh, if that would be helpful. Now, getting back to what you were saying, it sounds like one of the most important migration steps, and you addressed this a little bit earlier when you were talking about feature parity, will be getting yourself out of this, how we did things in Oracle Commerce mentality, to really make use of and really embrace some of the new capabilities that more modern platforms give you. So can we just pivot slightly to address some of these practical migration steps, particularly for the business stakeholders? What things do they need to think about? What's really important? So this kind of changing the mindset and stepping out of how we did things in Oracle Commerce, would that be the first step in sort of any successful migration?
Absolutely, Andy. So as you said, I think the first thing would be to re-examine your requirements to see what could be done better, right? I mean, just because Oracle did it a certain way and you had to change your business to do it that way, doesn't mean you have to do it the same way now. You can do things better. And we've had great success advising customers on what could be done better by going to the platform, seeing what the out-of-the-box features are, and also customizations are not as heavy as they were in the Oracle world. So we want to better fit the customer's needs, but not. I mean, you shouldn't just think this is how we did in Oracle, we're going to do this again, but maybe we can do it better. Right. One of the cases would be, during data migration, for example, the customer always, the customer one is always flattened out in Oracle, as you know, when it comes from the ERP system. The ERP system does have a complex hierarchy. It's most of the time the ERP system does capture complex hierarchies of customers, but it's not, it gets flattened out. We don't have to do that. We can do it. We can capture that hierarchy and leverage that for either for personalization or for role-based access control, or to give people more capability than what was possible with Oracle by re-examining that bit, as an example.
Okay, so in terms of the things that there's key migration steps, and I guess planning sessions, I would almost call them, feature planning, yes, particularly, what do we have today? What do we really need? And what new opportunities might there be by virtue of new platform features? And you just touched on the data migration. That one's obviously key. It always is. What about customer account planning? How do you, because I've had conversations where as an operator, you're thinking about, what do we need in order to make the customer account hierarchy and all of that work, right? But this is a great opportunity to think about, well, what do your customers need, or how can we create more value for the customers? What are some big things to think about there when you're looking at, hey, this is how it's set up, this is how we've always done it in Oracle Commerce? Because I know we've been through many of these conversations together.
Let me think about that for a second. So in terms of customers, doing customers better, I touched about security, of how customers can to look at the self-care aspects of customers to see what they would want to do and what they want. Really would be, and to ask some of your customers. I think we've had great luck talking to the customers of the customers to say, what features they want. Sometimes you find that they want certain features, like to change a date, for example. To change the date of the order, the estimated time of delivery, they wanted to change that. And in Oracle, that was a little more difficult. In here, it was straightforward. Once we had a call with the ERP system, we changed that. We enabled that, and a lot of customers really like that, as an example.
Yeah. So
And
I'm thinking, sorry to interrupt you, but it's a really important point. Where we've seen really successful migrations happen is when the companies have actually had conversations and asked their customers, hey, what don't you like? What's driving you crazy? Are there things that frustrate you? Obviously, within limits, but then using that as input as they're, shaping and building the account hierarchy in whatever the new platform is they've chosen.
Yeah, as another example, we had this customers. We had this pricing in ATG, like I talked about the 25 million records. The problem there was a 8% deviation in pricing between how the ERP did it and how the commerce system did it, and the ERP won, and that resulted in about 8% of the cases where the price for the order was just a little off from what the customers saw, and the customers were fairly. I would say the client didn't think that it was a big deal, but the customers did care. So when we implemented this one, we took more cases into consideration, and we got the error down to 1%. Well, and this was a win-win, because there was no shock for the customers when they got the new bill. It was more accurate, and also it enabled this trust to increase between the client and the customer.
Excellent. All right. So in this last section that we've been talking about in the playbook, it's really been focused around some of those common steps, some of those common planning themes. So feature planning, through the 7 capabilities we were talking about earlier. Data migration planning and customer account planning are the really big ones. But we know, there are many factors that will shape your detailed sequence of events, depending on your company's tolerance for risk and desire for agility. So as we close out this playbook overview, whether you'd like to understand more about the Oracle Commerce platform we use as an example throughout the playbook, or if you have other questions, we're here to help you understand what that path could look like for you. And as I mentioned before, feel free to use the link below to organize a migration session with Naresh, where you guys can discuss your individual scenarios or any other questions you may have. But until then, we thank you for watching our Oracle B2B Migration Playbook. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.